Hello guys, today we'll be covering a 2007 comedy drama film called Full of It. All the relevant links and information for the film will be in the description down below. Now let's get right into the movie. Sam Leonard is an ordinary teenager who's brought up well by his doting parents. He's a friendly boy, but he's a little on the short side as compared with people of his age. We see that he's just transferred to Bridgeport High School. Sam is starting a new chapter in his life, his senior years. As his parents are there to drop him off for his first day at school, they send off their son with hugs and kisses. It's then revealed that Sam has come to this school as a potential contender for the Math Association scholarship, which is why Principal Hayes is familiar with him and his parents. The principal then personally welcomes him at the school, shows him his locker, and presents him with a welcome package. It's his first day of school and people have already started mocking him. Sam is sorting out his things in his locker, humming to himself, when Kyle Plunkett and the other boys just beside his locker ask him about the song he's humming. They ask if he can sing a snippet of the song just to humiliate him. Sam sings the song as per request, but it gathers the mocking crowd around him. Next, after PE class, he goes to a guidance counselor to seek a little help. He talks about his difficulties fitting in at this new school. While talking to the counselor, Sam feels that his issues are not taken seriously. The counselor then asks him if he has any talent or skill to stand out from the crowd, to which he proudly flaunts being a math whiz. The counselor is pouring out his resentment towards his own life. Here, Sam just wanted some real advice, but instead is hit with some blatant wisdom. In a serious tone, the counselor tells him to have some guts, and if he wants other kids to like him, he must lie about who he is, where he's from, and what he has. The next day, when Sam's parents drop him off at the school, he heads straight to the school building without hugging his parents as usual. Subsequently, he starts telling outrageous lies, trying to come off as a cool guy and impress other kids. Having known the only formula to be likable, he lies about having a Porsche at home. He even puts a photo of a hot model in his locker for display. Later in math class, when a friend asks for his homework to copy, he lies about not having it done. But the teacher's not happy with him for not turning in his homework, as he's competing for the math scholarship. In the next class, Sam meets Annie in Mrs. Moran's class. All the boys in the class are checking out Mrs. Moran's figure. Just then, Annie asks him if he's also one of those guys who think they have a chance with Mrs. Moran. In response, Sam blatantly says that a day may come when the teacher falls for him. Then he starts talking about how his teacher had a crush on him in his previous school, which Annie finds hard to believe. Later during lunch hour, with a food tray in his hand, Sam scans the cafeteria to see if he can sit with anyone, but is met with unwelcoming gazes. Finally, he goes to the table where Annie is peacefully reading her book. Shortly, Sam sees a beautiful girl in the crowd walking toward Kyle's group and inquires with Annie about that girl. Annie tells him she's Vicky Sanders, Kyle's girlfriend, and jokingly tells Sam to pursue her. But ironically, Sam gets serious about it. Annie warns him about Kyle and also adds that he's violent and it's not worth it, but Sam pays her no heed. He then drags the chair to Kyle's table in hopes of befriending Vicky. However, as expected, he's humiliated by the group, so he returns to Annie's table. There, she teases him a little, asking him if he's thinking about the engagement rings, but Sam does not seem discouraged by this. Instead, he tells Annie that whatever happened just now is what he'd expected out of the situation. He says that Vicky was unable to jump into his arms in front of Kyle. Hearing his cockamamie logic, Annie's unable to put up with his pretense and calls him out for having a miserable life. However, she still suggests to him that hanging out with them is not worth his time. Later on, Sam's entrance into the basketball court causes a wave of laughter to erupt, along with some comments about his appearance. He introduces himself to the PE teacher and expresses his desire to be on the school's basketball team, but the coach thinks Sam does not belong there. Sam then lies about his basketball skills and says he never misses a shot, but the truth is he's terrible at the game, which becomes evident from the practice match they have, and soon he's left with a nosebleed. After the match, in the shower room, the boys ridicule his game skills. They not only make fun of his skills, but also his manhood and compare it with that of a girl. There he goes off once again, telling elaborated lies about himself. Sam then tells them he has to keep his huge manhood covered so that it won't hurt their self-esteem. Meanwhile, with homecoming right around the corner, Sam gets 2 tickets for it. Annie satirically asks him if Vicky will be picking him up, or will he be escorting her to the event. In response, Sam opens up about receiving a warning note from Kyle, where he's threatened to be dunked in a household cleanser, dragged behind a trunk, and his nuts hooked to a car battery if he does not stay away from Vicky. Therefore, he says, for the time being, Vicky is out of the question. Due to some mishaps, Sam is in search of a suitable date that he can take to the upcoming homecoming night. Hence, he tries his luck with a girl in the pottery class. Trying to impress this girl, he lies that his mum is an artist. He even asks some other girls, but upon the mention of the homecoming, they all reject him cold-heartedly. After asking literally every girl in the school and being unable to get a single date, at last he asks Annie out for the event, but as expected, she also rejects him. That night during dinner, his father confronts him about missing out on the chance of getting the scholarship and asks him why he didn't do the first math assignment. Sam replies that he didn't submit the paper despite having it done. His parents are shocked to find out that he lied and call for an immediate family meeting. Next, we see the family gathered around a table for the meeting. In this meeting, one must speak nothing but the truth. There, Sam explodes his frustration of going through the hardship every day in his school. He's embarrassed being dropped off every day by his family like a little kid in their old car. He also talks about not being liked by other kids in the school, so he tells them that to be likable, he's started lying. After listening to him, his parents try to make him understand that he needs to be himself. Only then will the people love him. Nevertheless, it further causes the dispute to flame up amongst them. Sam then makes it clear that nothing's going to stop him from lying anymore. He then goes to his room and bangs the door in frustration. This causes the mirror hung behind the door to crack into pieces. The next morning, he wakes up late, and on top of that, he sees his dog chewing on his assignment papers. Worried about being late, he hurries up and leaves for school on his bicycle. In school, Sam is greeted by his principal and is asked about his well-being, but Sam scoffs at him, telling him to mind his own business. Then he enters the classroom and tells Annie that something weird is happening with him. At the same time, Mrs. Moran enters the room and pays special attention to Sam. And upon finding out that Sam is partnered with Annie for the next project, she frowns at Annie. In the next class, Sam hands over the half-chewed assignment. As a result, the math teacher makes him solve the problem on the board. Once a math whiz, Sam is now dumbfounded, standing in front of the board as the question appears to be indecipherable to him. Next, in the changing room, he's shocked to find his manhood has grown in size. Hence, he goes to show it off to the other boys in the shower. Sam is astounded by the events happening to him. During lunch, without sparing a glance at Vicky and Kyle's group, he goes straight to Annie and tells her all about those things. What they never expected happens next. The most popular girl in the school, Vicky Sanders, comes to talk to him about homecoming. After she's left, he realizes that all of his lies are suddenly becoming a reality, which he reveals to Annie. She dismisses him, saying that it's just a big series of coincidences. And with the agreement to meet in the library for their project in 2 hours, Annie leaves. Later, when it's time for him to meet Annie, Vicky comes around and invites Sam to grab a bite with her. Initially, he tries to escape from her, but eventually he couldn't let go of the opportunity, so he goes with her. Meanwhile, Annie's been waiting for him in the library all this time. At the end of the day, Vicky invites him to a party at her house that weekend. That day, Sam returns to his house in a jolly mood. But to his surprise, he finds a bunch of people for the art jam, where his mum's latest work is being showcased. His mother has now become an avant-garde artist, just like he'd lied about. Confused about everything that's going on, he runs to his room and calls Annie. On the flip side, Annie's still angry about flaking on her that day. Sam then apologizes and vows to complete their project all by himself. The next morning, once again, his dog gets its mouth on his paper. He wants some help from his parents, but his mum is busy with her schedule, and his dad is just back from his comeback tour. Just like how his mum has turned into an artist, his dad is now a rock star, all thanks to his lies. Unlike in the past, now they don't have time to spend on him. They tell him to ride to school himself. After seeing a brand new Porsche parked outside, he realizes that his lies turned truth is not all that bad for him. After a while, he arrives at the school where Annie's been waiting for him. She's infuriated to learn that their paper's been eaten by his dog, and she's sure that Mrs. Moran is going to fail them. Despite handing over a half-chewed paper, Sam is able to work his charm on Mrs. Moran, and she gladly accepts their paper. In the afternoon basketball match, Sam replaces Kyle for the game. Previously, he displayed his worst skill, but to everyone's surprise, in this match, no matter what he does, the ball always baskets. Eventually, he leads the team to win the match. Later that night, to prove that all of his lies are turning true, he shows up in Annie's workplace with a shiny red Porsche. He also invites her to the party at Vicky's house. Despite her unwillingness, he still manages to convince her and take her to the party. Since Sam has helped to win the match earlier, he's in the spotlight of the party. On the other hand, Kyle is irked seeing Vicky dance with Sam. Even Carmen Electra, a hot model, comes by to congratulate Sam. During the party, Vicky's all hyped up and horny and drags Sam to the bathroom to make love with him. On the contrary, Sam does not want to lose his virginity in that bathroom. He wants it to be special. Kyle's been eavesdropping this whole time, so comes inside gnashing his teeth on Sam. But somehow, Sam manages to get out of there safely. The next morning, Vicky says she's over Kyle and declares Sam her new boyfriend. Hearing this, Kyle is fumed as Sam not only stole his point guard position on the team, but also his girlfriend. Therefore, Kyle and his boys are scheming revenge on him. Meanwhile, Annie wants to invite Sam to the homecoming with her, but he tells her that he's now together with Vicky. Afterwards, Sam is called into the principal's office to inform him that his name has been taken out of the scholarship list and that he's on probation. He's even warned of being expelled. Later, Sam comes home to find his parents getting divorced. He tells them that he's about to get expelled, but they don't show any concern about their son's affair. He then calls for an immediate family meeting, but both of his parents go on their separate ways. At that moment, he realizes he's loved by everyone at school and has a hot girlfriend, but he's not happy at all. Next, it's homecoming night, and Sam is there with Vicky as his date. There, Vicky's once again behaving horny, trying to make love with them in the faculty restroom. Unfortunately, they're caught by Mrs. Moran in the act. Since Mrs. Moran has feelings for Sam, she not only confesses her love for him in front of everyone, but also exposes them publicly on the stage when Sam and Vicky are announced as Bridgeport Homecoming King and Queen. One thing leads to another, and Sam ends up landing a blow on the principal's face. Later, Sam is caught by Kyle and his boys and is taken to the parking lot. Kyle's ready and determined to drag Sam behind his truck, but luckily, before he could do that, the cops arrive and take him to the police station. The following day, the guidance counselor comes to bail him out, as the principal dropped all the charges and is settled with detention as the punishment. The counselor then apologizes for his advice, encouraging him to lie. Then he makes Sam realize that only by being honest can he rectify his past mistakes. To heal everything he's done, the first thing he does is break up with Vicky as he does not truly love her. He even quits the basketball team. Next, Sam goes to the principal to atone for his behavior, and they quickly make up. Next, he hears out the misunderstanding between Mrs. Moran and her husband and asks her not to break up with such a great person for a worthless person like him. And finally, he sets fire to his Porsche. The next morning, he wakes up thinking that everything's back to normal. But to his disappointment, he sees the Porsche in his garage. At school, he's no longer happy with all the attention he's getting. Vicky comes and says she does not accept their breakup, and the coach comes begging him not to quit the team. At that moment, he realizes how happy he was with Annie. Therefore, he goes to her and confesses. Despite everything, she tells him that she's still unable to trust him, whom she now considers the biggest liar. Vicky's stunned to witness this scene right in front of her, and the mirror in her hand slips and breaks into pieces. Next off, he's forced to play for the team, but he fails to basket the ball. When the audience starts jeering him and throwing stuff at him, his heart is filled with hopefulness for the turn of events. There, he sees his parents among the audience holding banners for him. He's delighted to find everything, except his Porsche, has gone back to normal, and Annie's seen waiting for him beside the door. The movie ends with Sam and Annie kissing inside his Porsche.